It was one of those nights where the city seemed crueler than usual. The rain came down in cold, sharp sheets, soaking the streets and chilling every soul left without a roof. Among them was a young woman, fragile, hungry, and exhausted. She clutched the thin coat around her as if it could shield her from the biting cold. She had no family, no money, and nowhere else to go. For days, she had searched for shelter, begging quietly, surviving on scraps, but every door had been closed in her face. On this night, with her shoes squelching in the mud and her body trembling, she found herself outside a grand house at the far end of the street. It was nothing like the places she usually approached, tall iron gates, lights burning dimly inside, and an air of wealth and authority. Her heart pounded. Whoever lived here was not the kind to welcome strangers. But she had nothing left to lose. Her trembling fingers reached for the gate, and she knocked. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, the heavy door opened, revealing a tall man in a crisp suit, his face shadowed, his eyes cold and calculating. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice deep, measured, the kind of voice used to command respect in courtrooms. She swallowed the lump in her throat. "Shelter," she whispered. I don't have anything to give. Except myself." His jaw tightened, his sharp gaze scanning her thin frame, her wet clothes, her desperate eyes. She braced herself for mockery, for rejection, for the door to slam shut. But instead, he stepped aside. "Come in," he said simply. The warmth of his home hit her immediately. The fire glowed in the hearth, the scent of polished wood and leather hung in the air. But it wasn't cozy, it was lonely. She could see it in the way everything was perfectly in order, untouched, like a place where no laughter or love had echoed for a long time. "You may stay," he said firmly. "But understand this, I am not a man who gives without cost." Her lips trembled. "I'll clean, cook, do whatever you ask. Just, don't send me away." He stared at her for a long moment, then shook his head. "You don't need to sell yourself for survival. Not here." And with that, the strange arrangement began. At first, he barely spoke to her. He kept his distance, retreating to his study filled with books and legal papers. But she noticed things. The tired lines around his eyes. The untouched dinners. The way he sometimes lingered in the doorway when she hummed softly while cooking. She learned he was a lawyer, brilliant, respected, but reclusive. He had once lived in the world of power and prestige, but something had broken him, something he never spoke about. She saw it in the way his gaze lingered on a photograph he kept by the fire. A woman's face. Someone he had lost. She, too, carried scars, though of a different kind: poverty, abandonment, the endless struggle to survive. But here, inside these cold walls, she began to breathe again. She cooked meals, swept the halls, opened curtains that had long been closed. And slowly, she filled the silence with little fragments of life. One evening, she dared to sit by the fire where he sat, staring at the photograph. He didn't move, didn't tell her to leave. Instead, he spoke, his voice raw. "She died because of me," he whispered. "I should have protected her. I failed." Her heart ached at the pain in his eyes. Gently, she placed her hand on his. "You didn't fail her. You're just human. We all break. But you don't have to stay broken." Something shifted that night. His walls cracked. He started talking more, asking about her past, her dreams. She told him of the nights she went to bed hungry, of the small joys she had clung to, reading by candlelight, chasing fireflies as a child. He listened. Really listened. And in his listening, he began to heal. The cold lawyer who once opened his door out of obligation began to see her as more than a burden. He saw her as hope. As light. One morning, she found a set of keys on the kitchen counter. She looked at him, confused. "This house," he said, his voice softer than she had ever heard it, "was a prison for me. But since you came, it's begun to feel alive again. It's not just mine anymore. If you choose, it can be ours." Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "I'll stay. Not because I need shelter anymore, but because I need you." For the first time in years, his lips curved into a true smile. A fragile one, but real. He took her hand, and in that simple touch, two broken souls found something they thought they had lost forever: love, safety, and the promise of a future. The poor girl who had once traded herself for shelter discovered that what she had been given was far more precious. Not just a roof over her head, but a home built on love. And the reclusive lawyer, who had once locked himself away from the world, found that sometimes the greatest gift is letting someone in.